between my legs, and I went up to James and I said to James, you know, you beat me a few weeks ago, please can you prep me for the Arnolds, you know? So he decided, yeah, you know, he'd like to work with me. So we started working with each other like a few weeks after the Grand Prix. And he basically said to me, I get too fat in the off season, you know, I need to keep my weight down. So I said, okay, you know, I kept my weight down to about, I think it was about just under 15 stone, 14 stone 10, something like that. And we worked out a diet, and we said, okay, once you don't go above a certain weight, your diet is going to start 10 weeks out. So, you know, we started working with each other. The diet was absolutely fantastic. It was going really well. But I think towards the end, leading up to the first Arnolds, I over-dieted, and I've got a physique where my physique, I'm at my best when my physique is really full, you know. You get some physiques where when they're in condition, they get really dry, they get really grainy, and you know, you're like, wow, that is proper condition. But my physique isn't like that, you know. And I've always got to remember, you know, my physique, I don't get that dry, grainy look, which I've been looking for, you know. I think once I go after that, it will be to my detriment, as it was at the Arnolds, basically. I suppose everyone likens my physique to JD's. I don't know whether you guys know JD Dawodu, who won the British in '92. At first, I didn't know why people were comparing me to him, but you know, having studied his physique for a while now, I can see why and what areas, you know. And we've got similar muscle qualities as well. I mean, JD was never the most shredded on stage, yeah, good condition on stage, but his lines and fullness and density was absolutely awesome. So I think that's the mistake that myself and James made going into the Arnolds, was that we were looking for that depleted look. And my physique doesn't do it whatsoever. So it's important to know your physique as well, you know, in this sport. I over-dieted. I looked brilliant 6 weeks out, you know. I could have done the show, you know, a couple of weeks after that, basically, you know, had meddled with a bit of my water and things like that, and could have come in and done really well. But I was determined to go in there, as I said, and make a mark at the Arnolds. Went there. I knew it was going to be a tough show. There was world champions, former world champions, you know, pros and things like that. Got there, and it was absolutely awesome. Went on stage. It was so quick, quarter turns, quarter turns, quarter turns. I remember that, and then you were off, and everyone was really excited, you know, because I knew that I had probably done really well. And we got the judges' score sheets, and I was in the lead by a few points at the Arnolds by then. So I remember Bill Tierney coming up to me afterwards and saying, right, you've got this now. All you've got to do is just go back tomorrow for the finals and just do everything the same. So I was like, yeah, no problem. Gone back the next day to the finals. You know, you can never what's the word, presume anything, but yeah, I thought I'd done enough to win it. But enough is never quite enough, is it? You've always got to do more than enough. So went out there, performed, did my pose and routine. They called out the results, and in third place was some Russian guy, and in second place, and I was fully expecting to win here, Shaun Joseph Tavernier, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't bloody well win it. But I was disappointed, but you know, my main aim for going to the Arnolds that time was just to prove that I could be better than I was at the British, basically. So going to the Arnolds again has given me an extra drive that, you know, I wanted to now go to the British in 2009, and you know, I was fully confident that I could win the light heavies and win the overall. But then Zach Khan, after trying for 10 years, decided to be at his all-time best in 2010 with the help of Neil Hill, who I've currently recruited now because of that. So yeah, so that was good. I enjoyed that. I was given an invite again, 3 invites to the Arnolds. I was umming and ahhing whether to go because I felt that my physique was tired. I needed that break to give myself a better chance of winning the overall at the British, because I walked off stage and I must admit, after being beaten in the overall, I did cry around the back. But, you know, I was reinvigorated, and I wanted to go back the next year and win it. But then the UKBFF gave me the invite again and said, well, look, you know, go to the Arnolds, get a good placing, and, you know, if you place top 5, what they're doing now is that they'll give you your pro card, having won the British on 3 occasions. So I thought about it, because everyone wants to win the overall, don't they, you know? So I ummed and ahed about it. And then I thought, okay, well, you know, at least if I go to the Arnolds and hopefully get my pro card there, it will give me a full year, because, you know, in bodybuilding, there's no, I don't, you know, I started quite late in this sport. I started my first show, I mean, I'm 34 now. My first show was when I was about 32, you know. So for me, longevity in the sport just isn't there. I only plan to be competing for about another 3-4 more years, and that is it, really. So that was a major factor in my decision not to do the British last year, was that I just want to get my pro card and then hit it as hard as I could, basically, you know. So that was, I think, the determining factor of why I didn't go back to the British, you know. So I got my pro card, you know. From the time I got off the stage at the Arnolds last year, you know, I was prepping for this show this year, basically, you know. I knew what I was going to do. I knew the areas that I had to work on, you know. I knew I had to thicken out my back. I knew I had to get my back more dense in certain areas, you know, a bit more lumpy. Yes, I had a thick back, but, you know, it wasn't lumpy in certain areas, you know. Thicken out my quads, cap off my delts, things like that. Better hamstring, because as a black guy, I've got quite a big ass, so it takes away the emphasis from my hamstrings, you see. So I had to work on my hamstrings, calves as well. My calves are not fantastic, but, you know, I hit those about 4 or 5 times a week. And so, yeah, as I said, you know, I got off the stage at the Arnolds in 2010, and everything was geared towards this show coming up in 3 weeks' time, you know. So my philosophy was, after the Arnolds, I mean, some people, you know, they've got their own outlook with regards to your off-season prep and how you should conduct it. Mine is to just get as big as possible, as strong as possible, lift the most heaviest of weights as possible, and you do your damnedest to come in the best shape as possible. That is my philosophy, you know. With regards to staying in shape or not going above a certain weight, that's no concern of mine whatsoever. Yes, if I've got shows, you know, that are not too far apart, yeah, I will consider, you know, my weight not going above a certain weight. But as far as I'm concerned, if I've got a long enough period, I'm going to pack on as much weight as possible, be as strong as possible, and lift the house, basically, you know. So Neil Hill had a go at me about my weight being a bit too high. I mean, some people saw me at the British last year, you know, and I was up to, I think, about 17.5 stone, which is a lot for someone of my height, but, you know, that's just the way I do it, basically. I do it my way, nobody else's way, and that is it, and that's the way it will always be, basically, you know. So, yeah, I started my diet now. I've been dieting for 15 weeks now. I started just shortly after the British in October. So we've taken it really slow and steady. I've been eating loads of food. It's only been since last week that I've actually dropped my food, actually. And this week I've been on really low carbs this week, and we've been meddling with my fats, with my carbs, now that my condition is right down at the moment. So we can see what's going to work best for me in the next few weeks, basically, you know, whether high fats are going to do it for me, whether I need to carb deplete, whether I don't need to carb deplete, whether I'm just going to cruise in, you know, we're just going to take out the water and things like that, basically. I feel that I'm at my all-time best, so it's about going out there and proving and displaying my physique in the best way possible, basically, you know. So that's what I aim to do in a few weeks' time. With regards to training, I get asked a lot with regards to training. What do I do with regards to rep ranges, you know, light weights, heavy weights, this, that, and the other. No disrespect to anyone, I've never been a bodybuilder that goes into the gym and has a notepad and writes and everything. I think that's a waste of time. That's my own personal opinion. Whether you do it or not, you know, that's up to you. I just think it just wastes time in the gym. You just go in the gym, you lift whatever you lift, you know, you fatigue that muscle, and then you get out again. You haven't got time to be writing down your weights. Your body is such a unique piece of machinery, basically. You have to be in tune with it, you know. I always find, you know, I go into the gym, I never really go into the gym or set out a plan where, you know, this month I'm going to lift heavy, this month I'm going to drop my weights down a bit. I always go into the gym, and first and foremost, my main aim is to go in there and be at my best at that particular time. Well, my training principle is called Shaun Joseph Tavernier. It's what I feel works for me, and that is going to be, if I go in there, I'll pick up a weight, a heavy weight, it may be 30 kg dumbbells. You know, if I'm not getting that pump and I'm not feeling that the muscle's working, then I will drop the weight, and I will make sure that I feel that muscle working, you know. If I've picked up a heavy weight and my muscle feels good, then I'm going to go with that weight, and I'm going to make sure I lift it and lift even more, basically. So my training has always been about feel rather than anything else. So I'm not an advocate of light weights, really, and I'm not an advocate of real heavy weights. Both have worked for me, you know. I squat about six and a half plates aside for a good few reps. My bench has never really been that great, but it's been about 4.5 plates aside. I found with certain body parts, rep ranges work, different rep ranges work better for me. Like, for example, I've always had a problem with my back. That's why my back has always lacked. And I found that, it took me a while, but I found that what works for me is not repping the weight for my back, but it's about a hold and squeeze. That's what it is for me. And release. Legs, with regards to legs, again, different exercises work best for me with regards to rep ranges. For instance, like if I'm doing legs, I'll start off with abductors first of all. That's an exercise that is very neglected by a lot of people, actually, abductors. What you don't realize is that your inner portion of your thigh is a big part of your leg, and it can make such a drastic change to your leg if you develop your inner portion of your thigh. And that was very much neglected by myself until a couple of years ago when I started doing the abductors, and it's changed my legs drastically, basically. So I'd go into a gym, for instance, on a leg day. I'll start off with abductors, warm up my thighs, and by warming up your inner thighs, you will squat, believe me, 110% better, because your inner thighs are that pumped, and the strength in there is just unbelievable, you know. So I'd finish off abductors. I would go straight onto leg extensions. I never lift heavy on leg extensions. The most I will put on is about 30 or 40 kg, but for each set I would aim to get 100 reps. So I would totally fatigue my muscle. It will be blasted from the first exercise. And then I would have gorged so much blood into my leg that, you know, when it comes to squatting, it would have no choice but to basically expand. Basically, that's the way I look at it, you know. So from leg extensions, I would swap it around from week to week. 1 week I would do leg presses, 1 week I would do squatting first, or 1 week I will do front squats first. And again, if I do leg presses, I would just have 5-6 plates aside on the leg press, and for each set I would get out between 40 and 50 reps. If I don't get out those 50 reps, I will take off a plate from each side and I will go again until I get those 50 reps. And the only real exercise that I do really heavy for legs is squatting, really. That's the exercise that I really pack on the weight with regards to my legs, really. And the rest of my body works in a similar way, really. You know, different exercises I change rep ranges for. So yeah, so that's where it's led me to date, basically.